Admiral John Mitchell had served the Terran Empire for 40 years. He had fought in 3 major wars and commanded dozens of ships. But nothing in his long career prepared him for what happened next. The bridge of the Imperial Star Destroyer Vanguard was usually quiet during night shift. Tonight was different. Red lights flashed everywhere. Alarms screamed through the metal corridors. Officers ran to their stations, their boots clicking on the steel floor. "What's happening?" Mitchell asked as he entered the bridge. His uniform was still wrinkled from sleep. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez turned from her console. Her face was pale. "Sir, we've detected something. An unknown vessel." Mitchell frowned. Unknown vessels were common in space. Pirates, smugglers, lost merchant ships. The Empire dealt with them every day. "Why all the noise for one ship?" "Because of how fast it's moving, sir." Rodriguez's hands shook as she typed. "Current speed is 70% of light speed, and it's getting faster." Mitchell stopped walking. No ship could move that fast. The Empire's fastest vessels could barely reach 30% of light speed, and that was pushing their engines to the limit. "Check your instruments. They must be broken." Commander Daniel Park looked up from his station. "I've checked 3 times, Admiral. The readings are correct. The object is real and it's moving faster than anything we've ever seen." Mitchell moved to the main screen. The tactical display showed their sector of space. Hundreds of green dots marked Empire ships. Yellow dots showed civilian vessels. But there, moving across the screen like a shooting star, was a single red dot. "How big is it?" Mitchell asked. Captain Lisa Turner answered from the sensor station. "About 200 meters long, completely smooth surface, no visible engines, no weapons we can see, no communication arrays." "But it moves faster than anything we've built," Mitchell whispered. The Terran Empire controlled 3 arms of the galaxy. They had defeated 7 alien races. Their technology was the best in known space. This shouldn't be possible. "Sir, it's not responding to our signals," Communications Officer Mark Chen reported. "I've tried every frequency, every language in our database. Nothing." Mitchell watched the red dot move across the screen. Its path was straight, unwavering, like an arrow shot from a bow. "Where's it heading?" Park's face went even paler. "If it maintains its current course." "Earth, sir. It's heading directly for Earth." The bridge fell silent. Earth was the heart of the Empire. 10 billion people lived there. The Imperial Senate met there. All major military commands were based there. If this was an attack, "Send a priority message to Fleet Command," Mitchell ordered. "Tell them we have a code black situation. Unknown vessel approaching Earth at impossible speed. Request immediate reinforcements." "Yes, sir." Chen's fingers flew over his console. Mitchell turned to his weapons officer. "Can we intercept?" Lieutenant Brad Foster shook his head. "Not at that speed, sir. By the time our missiles reach its position, it'll be light years away." "What about the defense grid? Can they stop it?" "The automated platforms around Earth might get a shot, but—" Foster paused. "Sir, at that velocity, if we hit it, the explosion could damage our own planets." Mitchell felt sweat on his forehead. In all his years of service, he'd never faced something like this. An enemy you couldn't catch, couldn't hit, couldn't even talk to. "Admiral, I'm detecting something else," Rodriguez said suddenly. "The vessel, it's not using any known type of propulsion." "What do you mean?" "There's no engine signature, no reaction mass, no energy discharge. It's like it's just sliding through space." Dr. Kate Williams, the ship's science officer, stepped forward. "That's impossible. Newton's laws. You can't move without pushing against something." "Tell that to our visitor," Mitchell muttered. He activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the Admiral. We are now at condition red. All weapons online, all shields at maximum. This is not a drill." The bridge erupted in activity. Officers checked weapons systems. Engineers pushed the engines harder. Communication specialists tried new ways to contact the intruder. "Sir, I'm getting responses from the fleet," Chen announced. "The battleships Thunder and Lightning are moving to intercept. The carriers Freedom and Justice are launching fighters. Mitchell nodded, but he knew it was useless. You can't catch something moving that fast. You can't fight what you don't understand. Admiral, look at this, Park called out. He transferred his display to the main screen. I've been analyzing its path. It's not random. The screen showed a star map with a red line marking the vessel's route. The line was perfectly straight, cutting through star systems like they weren't there. It started here, Park pointed to a spot near the galaxy's edge, and it's maintained exact course for Earth. No deviations, no course corrections, like it knows exactly where it's going. How long until it reaches Earth? Mitchell asked. At current speed, 6 days. But sir, Park hesitated. It's still accelerating. Mitchell felt his chest tighten. 6 days to prepare for something they couldn't stop, couldn't understand. The Empire had never faced anything like this. Sir, incoming message from Fleet. Admiral Jackson, Chen reported. The main screen flickered. An older man in a pristine uniform appeared. Fleet Admiral George Jackson, commander of all Imperial forces. His face was grim. John, I've seen your report. We're mobilizing everything, every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The Emperor himself has been notified. Sir, our weapons can't touch this thing. It's too fast. Jackson nodded. I know, but we have to try. If this is an attack, if Earth falls... He didn't need to finish. If Earth fell, the Empire fell. Humanity's colonies would be cut off, isolated. The alien races they'd conquered would rebel. Everything they'd built over centuries would crumble. I'm giving you tactical command of Sector 7, Jackson continued. Stop this thing, John, by any means necessary. The screen went dark. Mitchell turned to his crew. Young faces stared back at him. They were scared, but they trusted him. He'd led them through battles before. But this, navigation, plot and intercept. Course, he ordered. Engineering, I want every bit of speed you can give me. Weapons, prepare everything we have. Sir, we can't catch it, Park reminded him. I know, but we're going to try. And if we can't stop it... Mitchell looked at the red dot on the screen. We'll at least learn what we're fighting. Outside the bridge windows, stars blurred as the vanguard accelerated. Around them, the Empire's mighty fleet gathered, hundreds of ships, thousands of weapons, millions of soldiers, all preparing to face one small vessel that shouldn't exist. Mitchell stood at his command station, watching the impossible ship race toward humanity's home. In 6 days, everything would change. The only question was how. The red dot moved steadily across the screen, growing closer to Earth with each passing second. And for the first time in his career, Admiral John Mitchell had no idea what to do next. 3 days had passed since the unknown vessel appeared. 3 days of the most intense military operation in human history. And still, the ship raced toward Earth like a bullet aimed at the heart. Commander Kevin Hayes gripped his flight controls as his interceptor pushed beyond safe limits. His squadron of 12 fighters had been chasing the vessel for 6 hours. They were the Empire's fastest ships, built for speed above all else. But they might as well have been standing still. Shadow 1 to command, Hayes spoke into his helmet. Microphone. We're at maximum burn. Fuel reserves down to 40%. The target is still pulling away from us. His cockpit shook violently. The engine temperature gauge showed red. Warning lights blinked everywhere. The ship wasn't designed for this kind of sustained speed. Copy Shadow 1, came the reply from Admiral Mitchell. Can you get any closer? Hayes checked his instruments. The unknown vessel was now 5,000 kilometers ahead and the gap was growing. Negative, sir, it's accelerating again. Current speed, 85% of light speed. Behind Hayes, his squadron struggled to keep up. These were the best pilots in the Empire, flying the most advanced fighters ever built. And they were being left behind like children chasing a speeding car. Shadow 3, I'm losing engine power, Lieutenant Jake Murphy reported. His fighter was already falling back. Shadow 7, same here, added Captain Beth Anderson. If we push any harder, these engines will explode. Hayes knew they were right, but orders were orders. Earth needed them to learn something, anything, about this intruder. All shadows, reduce speed to sustainable levels, Hayes commanded. We'll maintain observation distance. As his squadron slowed, Hayes kept his sensors locked on the vessel. It was beautiful in a strange way. Perfectly smooth, like a drop of mercury in space. No windows, no doors, no seams. Just an oval shape that somehow defied physics. Back on, Earth Emergency Director Patricia Coleman stood before the Imperial Council. The massive chamber held representatives from every human colony. Their faces showed fear, confusion, anger. "Ladies and gentlemen," Coleman began, "what we face is unprecedented. This vessel demonstrates technology beyond our understanding." She activated a holographic display. The unknown ship appeared in the center of the room, rotating slowly. No engines, yet it accelerates constantly. No power source we can detect, yet it maintains impossible speeds. No weapons visible, but that doesn't mean it's not a threat. Senator Maria Vasquez stood up. "What about the Columbus option? We pack ships with explosives and ram them into its path." "Already considered," Coleman replied. "But look at these calculations." The display changed to show mathematical models. At its current velocity, any collision would release energy equivalent to a supernova. We'd destroy half our solar system. "Then what do you propose?" asked Governor Paul Martin from Mars Colony. Coleman took a deep breath. "We evacuate what we can. Move government officials to bunkers, prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." "That's not a plan," Vasquez shouted. "That's surrender." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate. A few suggested fleeing to distant colonies. Nobody had answers. Meanwhile, in a laboratory beneath New Angeles, Dr. Eric Thompson worked frantically. He wasn't military. He wasn't government. He was just a scientist who studied quantum physics. But his instruments had detected something everyone else missed. "Kelly, look at this," he called to his assistant. Kelly Morris walked over, coffee mug in hand. She'd been working alongside Thompson for 3 years. She'd never seen him this excited. "What am I looking at?" she asked, studying the screen. "Quantum displacement readings from the vessel's path. Everyone's focused on how fast it's moving, but that's not the real mystery." Thompson pulled up more data. "The ship isn't just moving through space, it's bending space around itself, creating a bubble where normal physics don't apply." Kelly set down her coffee. "That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be infinite using our math," Thompson finished. "But what if they're using different math? What if they found a way to cheat Einstein?" He showed her more readings. "Look here. Space-time actually compresses in front of the vessel and expands behind it. It's not really moving faster than light. It's making the universe smaller." Kelly's eyes widened. "That's why our weapons can't lock on. It's not where our sensors say it is." "Exactly." Thompson grabbed his phone. "We need to tell someone about this." Above Earth's atmosphere, the defensive grid prepared for battle. Thousands of automated weapons platforms floated in precise formations. They were humanity's last line of defense, designed to stop any threat. General Sam Carter commanded the grid from his station on Moonbase Alpha. His screens showed the approaching vessel's trajectory. In less than 3 days, it would reach weapons range. "All platforms report ready, sir," his aide reported. "Missiles armed, particle beams charged, railguns loaded." Carter nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. These weapons were built to fight ships they understood, ships with engines and shields and weak points, not smooth eggs that laughed at physics. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from the vessel," the sensor officer announced. "What kind of readings?" "It's slowing down." Carter leaned forward. "Repeat that." "The vessel is decelerating, from 85% light speed to—" "Sir, it stopped." Everyone in the command center froze. On the screens, the red dot that had been racing toward Earth now hung motionless just beyond Neptune's orbit. "Distance to target?" Carter asked. 2.8 billion kilometers, just outside our effective weapons range." Carter felt his mouth go dry. The vessel had stopped exactly where their weapons couldn't reach it, like it knew precisely where the danger zone began. Back with Shadow Squadron, Commander Hayes watched his instruments in disbelief. "Command, this is Shadow 1. Confirm the target has stopped?" Confirmed, Shadow 1. Complete halt. 0 velocity. Hayes checked his fuel. Barely enough to reach the vessel and return, but this might be their only chance to get close. Command. Requesting permission to approach. A pause. Then Admiral Mitchell's voice. Proceed with extreme caution, Shadow 1. Hayes adjusted his course. As he approached, his sensors started picking up details. The vessel's surface wasn't just smooth. It was perfect. No micrometeorite impacts. No space dust, like it had never touched normal matter. Shadow 1. I'm getting energy readings. His sensor officer reported. Something's building up inside the vessel. Hayes slowed his approach. Weapons? Unknown, sir. The energy pattern doesn't match any weapon we know. Then it happened. A beam of light shot out from the vessel, not toward Earth or the fighters, but into empty space. The beam pulsed with colors human eyes had never seen. It's beautiful, Hayes whispered. The beam widened, forming a cone. Inside the cone, stars seemed to twist and dance. Space itself rippled like water. Commander, I'm detecting a transmission, his communications officer said. It's in English. Hayes felt his heart skip. Put it through. A voice filled his cockpit. Clear, calm, and undeniably human. Humanity of Earth, we have traveled far to find you. Do not be afraid. We bring gifts of knowledge and a warning. Hayes steadied his voice. This is Commander Kevin Hayes of the Terran Empire. Identify yourself. We are the descendants of your lost colony ship, New Horizon. We are your children returning home. In his interceptor cockpit, surrounded by the cold darkness of space, Kevin Hayes felt the universe change. The impossible vessel wasn't alien. It was human, but a humanity transformed beyond recognition, and it had something important to tell them. The conference room on Moonbase Alpha had never been so crowded. Military officers, scientists, and government officials packed around the massive table. All eyes focused on the main screen, where the unknown vessel floated in space like a silver egg. Admiral Mitchell stood at the head of the table. His uniform was wrinkled from 3 days without sleep. Play the message again, he ordered. The speakers crackled. The same calm voice filled the room. Humanity of Earth, we have traveled far to find you. We are the descendants of your lost colony ship, New Horizon. We are your children, returning home. The room exploded in conversation. Everyone talked at once. How is this possible? The New Horizon was destroyed. Could this be a trick? They speak perfect English. Mitchell raised his hand for silence. Dr. Liu, what do we know about the New Horizon? Chief Scientist Robert Liu stood up. His hands shook slightly as he activated his datapad. The New Horizon launched 800 years ago. It was humanity's first attempt at interstellar colonization. 10,000 colonists in cryosleep. The ship disappeared 3 years into its journey. We assumed it was destroyed. But if they survived, began Security Chief Helen Grant. Then they've had 8 centuries to develop independently, Liu finished. 800 years of scientific advancement without contact with Earth. Mitchell turned to Communications Officer Paul Davis. Can we verify their claim? Davis nodded. I've been analyzing their transmission. The quantum signatures embedded in the signal. They match our historical records. This vessel contains human DNA, but evolved. Evolved how? Asked Dr. Mary Chen from the genetics department. Unknown. But the pattern suggests significant changes. They're still human, but different. Commander Susan Baker, who led the nearest patrol ship, raised her hand. Sir, I'm within visual range of the vessel. They're sending another signal. Put it through, Mitchell ordered. The main screen flickered. An image appeared. A face clearly human but subtly wrong. The skull was larger. The eyes wider, adapted to different light. The skin had a faint shimmer. Greetings, cousins of Earth, the figure said. I am Navigation Prime Alexis. We request permission to send a diplomatic shuttle. Mitchell looked around the room. Fear, curiosity, and wonder mixed on every face. He made his decision. Permission granted. But the meeting happens on neutral ground, Titan base. Accepted, Alexis replied. We will arrive in 6 hours. The screen went dark. Mitchell turned to his staff. I want every weapon on Titan base ready. Full security protocols if this is a trap. Sir, interrupted Dr. Thompson, who had just arrived from Earth. I need to show you something. Thompson connected his datapad to the main screen. Complex equations filled the display. My team has been studying their propulsion system. They're not using engines as we know them. They're manipulating space-time itself. That's impossible, said Chief Engineer Richard White. So was traveling at 85% light speed, Thompson countered. Yet they did it. They've mastered physics we're only beginning to understand. If they're so advanced, asked Senator Maria Vasquez by video link, why reveal themselves now? Why not stay hidden? Thompson's face grew serious. Maybe because they need to. Maybe because something forced their hand. 6 hours later, Titan Base prepared for the most important meeting in human history. The dome's transparent walls showed Saturn hanging in the black sky. Armed guards lined the corridors. Scientists calibrated every sensor they had. Admiral Mitchell stood in the main hangar as the shuttle approached. It was small, no bigger than a transport pod, but it moved with the same impossible grace as the mothership. No engine noise, no thruster fire. Just smooth, silent motion. The shuttle landed without touching the ground. It hovered a few centimeters above the deck, then dissolved its lower section to create a ramp. 3 figures emerged. They wore form-fitting suits that seemed alive, shifting colors with each movement. Their faces were human but changed. Taller bodies, larger heads, eyes that saw more than normal light. The leader stepped forward. I am Commander Sarah Chen. Yes, we kept some Earth names. We are the 700th generation of New Horizon. Mitchell stared. 700 generations should take thousands of years. That's impossible. Only 8 centuries have passed. Sarah smiled sadly. Time passes differently when you live between the stars. We learn to fold space, to slip between dimensions. What was 8 centuries for you was millennia for us. Dr. Liu stepped forward, scanner in hand. May I? Sarah nodded. Liu ran his scanner over her. His eyes widened at the readings. Definitely human. But the genetic modifications, the brain capacity has increased by 40%. The nervous system is completely redesigned. You've become something new. We evolved because we had to, Sarah explained. The journey changed us. Space changed us. We adapted or died. Mitchell felt overwhelmed. These were humans, but humans who had surpassed Earth in every way. Why return now, after all this time? Sarah's expression darkened. Because of what we found out there. In our travels beyond this galaxy, we discovered something terrifying. She raised her hand. A hologram appeared above her palm. It showed the space between galaxies. In that darkness, something moved. Something vast and hungry. They're called the Devourers, Sarah continued, an ancient force that feeds on technological civilizations. They're drawn to advanced species like moths to flame. The hologram zoomed in. The darkness resolved into shapes. Ships, if they could be called that. Organic and mechanical fused together, each one larger than planets. They're coming, Sarah said simply. Not today, not tomorrow, but within your lifetime. The Empire's expansion has finally attracted their attention. The room fell silent. Mitchell felt cold despite his heated suit. How do we fight them? You don't, Sarah replied. You hide, you run, or you evolve as we did. We can teach you, but you must abandon your empire, dismantle your fleets, become nomads among the stars. Senator Vasquez's image flickered on the wall screen. Abandon everything we've built? Trust strangers who claim to be human? Sarah turned to the screen. We don't claim to be human. We are human. Changed, evolved, but still your blood, and we're trying to save you. She gestured to her companions. One stepped forward, pulling something from his suit. A small device no bigger than a coin. This contains the basics of our technology, Sarah explained. Study it. You'll see we speak truth. Dr. Thompson took the device carefully. Even holding it, he could feel it was beyond anything Earth had created. It seemed to pulse with its own energy. How long do we have? Mitchell asked. Perhaps 50 Earth years, maybe less. The Devourers move slowly but inevitably. When they arrive, no force in this galaxy can stop them. You survived, pointed out Security Chief Grant. You escaped them. We learned to hide, Sarah corrected. To move between spaces they can't follow. To abandon the very concept of empire and territory. We became something they can't see or catch. She looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes. You created an empire that spans 3 galactic arms. You conquered 7 species. You built the greatest fleet in known space. And all of it is a beacon calling death toward you. Mitchell felt the weight of command heavier than ever. Everything humanity had achieved, everything they'd built, was now a target. We need time to consider this, he said finally. Sarah nodded. Of course, we'll wait in orbit around Neptune, but don't take too long. The universe is darker than you know, and the darkness has eyes. The 3 visitors returned to their shuttle. As they left, Sarah turned back one more time. We traveled across the universe to warn you. We gave up our hidden safety to save our cousins. Please don't waste this chance. The shuttle lifted silently and glided through the hangar field. In moments it vanished into space, returning to the impossible ship that had stopped humanity in its tracks. Admiral Mitchell looked around. The room, scientists, soldiers, leaders, all looked lost, confused, frightened. The universe had just become much larger and much more dangerous. God help us all, someone whispered. Mitchell couldn't disagree. The device sat on the laboratory table like a small star. Dr. Emily Patterson had been studying it for 12 hours straight. Her eyes burned from staring at the readings. Her hands trembled from too much coffee. But she couldn't look away. This is impossible, she muttered for the 100th time. Around her, the Empire's best scientists worked frantically. Every scanner, every computer, every piece of analysis equipment focused on the tiny device the visitors had left. Emily, you need to see this, called Dr. Alan Young from across the lab. Patterson walked over to his station. On his screen, molecular structures danced in patterns that shouldn't exist. The material isn't just advanced, Young explained. It's thinking. Each molecule processes information. The entire device is one giant brain. Patterson rubbed her tired eyes. How much computing power? More than all Earth's computers combined, in something the size of a coin. The door burst open. Admiral Mitchell entered with General Carter and a group of military officials. What have you learned? Patterson turned to face them. Sir, this technology makes our greatest achievements look like stone tools. They weren't exaggerating. They're centuries beyond us. Can we use it? Copy it? Carter asked. We can barely understand it, Patterson replied. It would take us decades just to figure out the basics. Mitchell's communicator buzzed. Sir, the visitors are requesting another meeting. They want to show us something. 20 minutes later, Mitchell stood on the observation deck of Space Station Freedom. Through the massive windows, he could see the visitor ship hanging in space. As he watched, the ship began to change. The smooth surface rippled like water. Sections opened that hadn't been there before. The ship unfolded like a metal flower, revealing structures that hurt to look at. Geometries that shouldn't exist. Dimensions, folding in on themselves. Sarah Chen's voice came through the speakers. This is our true form. What you saw before was simplified for your understanding. The ship continued to transform. It grew larger, more complex. Parts of it seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Mitchell felt dizzy watching it. We learned to build beyond 3 dimensions, Sarah continued. To exist partially outside, normal space. This is how we hide from them. The Devourers? Mitchell asked. Yes. They hunt in normal space. We learn to step sideways, to exist where they can't follow. The ship's transformation stopped. It was now something that defied description, part vessel, part space station. Part something else entirely. We invite you aboard, Sarah said. You need to see what we've seen. Understand what's coming. Mitchell hesitated. Boarding an alien ship, even one claimed to be human, violated every security protocol. But these weren't normal times. I'll come, he decided. A small section of the transformed ship detached and glided toward the station. It docked without sound or vibration. Mitchell entered with a small security team. Inside was like stepping into a dream. The walls curved in impossible ways. Gravity seemed to come from multiple directions at once. The air itself felt different, charged with energy. Sarah met them in what might have been a corridor. Welcome to true space engineering. Your mind will adjust in a few moments, she was right. Mitchell's brain seemed to recalibrate. Suddenly, the impossible geometry made sense. He could see how the ship folded space around itself. This way, Sarah led them deeper into the ship. They entered a vast chamber. In the center, a sphere of light pulsed with alien colors. Inside the sphere, images flickered. Stars, planets, civilizations Mitchell didn't recognize. This is our memory core, Sarah explained. Everything we've seen in our travels, everything we've learned about the universe. She waved her hand. The sphere focused on a particular image. A civilization of crystal beings, their cities spiraling into the sky like frozen music. The architects of Vega 7. Sarah narrated. They built wonders across 12 star systems. Their technology made ours look primitive. The image changed. The crystal cities crumbled. The sky turned dark. Shadows moved between the stars. The devourers came. The architects fought with weapons that could shatter planets. It didn't matter. Within one solar rotation, nothing remained. More images flashed by. A machine civilization that had converted entire planets into computers. Organic beings who lived in the hearts of stars. Energy creatures who danced between dimensions. All gone, Sarah said quietly. All consumed. The pattern is always the same. A species advances. They spread across space. They grow bright with technology, and the devourers come. Mitchell watched civilization after civilization fall. How many? Thousands. Maybe millions. The universe is full of dead worlds that once held thriving cultures. But you survived, Mitchell pointed out. There must be a way to fight. Sarah shook her head. We didn't fight, we learned to hide, watch. The sphere showed the New Horizon colony. At first, they looked almost like normal humans. But as time passed, they changed. Their bodies adapted. Their technology evolved. They learned to slip between the cracks of reality. When the devourers first found us, we were still young in our evolution. We lost many. But those who survived learned to become invisible to them. How? By abandoning everything that attracted them. Large populations, permanent settlements, energy signatures that span star systems. We became nomads in the truest sense. The sphere showed the evolved humans now. Small groups scattered across the universe. Ships that barely touched normal space. Communities that existed more in thought than physical reality. This is survival, Sarah said. Not empire. Not conquest. Just existence, hidden and mobile. General Carter spoke up. You're asking us to give up everything. Our worlds, our fleet, our entire way of life. We're offering you a choice, Sarah corrected. Adapt or die. The devourers don't negotiate, they don't show mercy, they simply consume. The sphere shifted again. This time it showed the edge of the galaxy. In the darkness between spiral arms, something stirred. Shapes that defied description. Hungry shadows with a terrible purpose. They're already moving, Sarah whispered. Drawn by your empire's expansion. Your signals have reached them. Your energy signatures call to them. How long? Mitchell asked, though he dreaded the answer. 50 years if you're fortunate. Less if you continue expanding. Every new colony, every activated beacon, every FTL jump shortens the time. The sphere zoomed in on the devourers. Mitchell wished it hadn't. They were wrong in every way. Not ships, not creatures, but something between. They moved through space like cancer through a body, leaving nothing behind. Can your technology help us? Patterson asked. She'd been studying the image intently. We can teach you to hide as we do, to evolve as we did. But you must choose. You cannot fight them with fleets and weapons. You cannot defend planets and stations. You must become something new. She gestured around the impossible ship. This is what survival looks like. Beautiful in its way, but nothing like the empire you've built. Mitchell felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. Everything they'd achieved in 800 years. Every colony established, every system conquered, every alien race brought under human rule. All of it meaningless against what was coming. Why warn us? He asked suddenly. You could have stayed hidden, stayed safe. Sarah's enhanced eyes showed something deeply human, compassion. Because you're family, changed by time and space, but still blood of our blood. We couldn't watch our cousins die without trying to help. She touched the sphere. It showed Earth, blue and beautiful in space. This was our home once. These are our people. Evolution hasn't changed that. The tour continued. They saw technologies that bent reality. Weapons that existed in multiple dimensions. Shields that stepped outside the universe. All useless against the Devourers except for hiding. As they prepared to leave, Sarah gave Mitchell another device. This contains star charts, safe routes, hidden spaces where the Devourers don't hunt. If you choose to join us, these will guide you. Mitchell took the device. It felt warm, almost alive. And if we choose to fight? Sarah's expression grew sad. Then we'll remember you. We'll carry your stories to stars you'll never see. We'll ensure humanity survives even if Earth doesn't. Back on the station, Mitchell stood alone in his office. On his desk sat two devices. One contained technology beyond imagination. The other held maps to survival. Through his window, he could see Earth turning slowly in space. 10 billion people, thousands of ships, an empire that spanned the galaxy, all of it balanced on the edge of extinction. The choice would come soon. Fight or flee, stand or scatter, empire or survival. Mitchell had never felt so alone. The Grand Assembly Hall had never seen such chaos. 10,000 representatives from every human colony filled the massive chamber. Voices shouted. Fists pounded on desks. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and nobody could agree on anything. Admiral, Mitchell stood at the central podium, waiting for silence. Behind him, giant screens showed the visitor ship still orbiting Neptune. It had been 2 weeks since the warning. 2 weeks of endless debates, secret meetings, and growing fear. Order! Speaker Jane Harrison banged her gavel. We must have order. Slowly, the noise died down. Mitchell cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest decision in human history. The evidence is clear. The threat is real. We must choose. Senator Jason Wright stood up. His face was red with anger. Choose? You ask us to abandon everything. Our worlds, our achievements, our very identity as an empire. Cheers erupted from one section of the hall. Boos from another. The alternative is extinction, Mitchell replied calmly. The visitors have shown us proof. The Devourers are coming. So they claim, Wright shot back. These so-called evolved humans could be lying. This could be an elaborate trick to make us weak. Dr. Emily Patterson requested the floor. Her voice shook slightly as she spoke. I've spent 2 weeks studying their technology. It's real. More advanced than anything we can imagine. If they wanted to conquer us, they could do it in minutes. Then why don't they? Demanded General Lisa Stone. Why offer choices? Why not just force us? Because they're still human, Patterson answered. Changed, evolved, but human. They want us to choose our own path. The debate raged on. Military leaders argued for fighting. Scientists pushed for adaptation. Politicians worried about their power. Colonists feared for their homes. Young Lieutenant Tony Rodriguez watched from the junior officers section. He was nobody important, just a communications officer on a patrol ship. But an idea was forming in his mind. As the arguing continued, Rodriguez stood up. His voice was small in the vast chamber. Excuse me. Nobody heard him. He tried again, louder. Excuse me. Speaker Harrison noticed him. The chair recognizes Lieutenant Rodriguez. The hall fell silent. Everyone stared at the young officer. Rodriguez swallowed hard. What if we don't have to choose? Confused murmurs filled the room. Admiral Mitchell leaned forward. Explain, Lieutenant. Rodriguez's hands shook, but his voice grew stronger. What if some of us stay and some go? What if humanity takes both paths? The murmurs grew louder. It was so simple, so obvious, yet nobody had suggested it. Two humanities, Rodriguez continued. Those who want to keep the Empire stay and prepare defenses. Those who want to evolve join the visitors. We hedge our bets. The hall exploded in discussion. This time the tone was different. People actually listened to each other. Senator Wright stood again. It's risky, splitting our species. It's survival, countered Dr. Liu. If one path fails, the other continues. Humanity endures either way. Over the next days, the plan took shape. Engineers worked out logistics. Scientists calculated requirements. Military planners prepared strategies for both groups. Sarah Chen and her people watched with interest. It's not what we expected, she admitted to Mitchell. But it's very human, stubborn and adaptable at the same time. Will you accept volunteers? Mitchell asked. Of course. We'll teach anyone who comes with us, but understand, the transformation isn't easy. You'll become something new. The choice was announced across the Empire. Every human, from Earth to the farthest colony, had to decide. Stay and fight or leave and evolve. Families gathered around dinner tables. Friends argued in cafes. Lovers faced heartbreaking decisions. The Empire had given them 3 months to choose. Captain Beth Anderson sat with her crew on the bridge of the Starlight. They'd served together for 5 years. Now they faced separation. I'm staying, announced her first officer, Mike Brown. Earth is our home. We've fought for it before. We'll fight again. I'm going, said Navigator Kim Lee. The math is clear. Fighting the Devourers is suicide. Evolution is the only logical choice. Anderson looked at her crew. Half nodded with Brown, half with Lee. She felt her heart breaking. Whatever you choose, you're still my family. On Mars, the Chen family faced their own crisis. David Chen was a farmer. His wife Mary was a teacher. Their children, Alex and Sophie, were just teenagers. How can we leave everything? Mary asked, looking out at the red plains they'd worked so hard to cultivate. This is our life. David held her hand. How can we stay knowing what's coming? The children. Alex, 17 and brave, spoke up. I want to go. I want to see what we can become. Sophie, 15 and frightened, clung to her mother. I want to stay. This is home. The impossible choice faced millions of families. No answer was right. No path was certain. In the evolved humans ship, Sarah prepared for the volunteers. Transformation chambers were constructed, teaching programs designed. They would share their knowledge, their evolution, their nomadic future. On Earth, Admiral Mitchell organized the defense. New weapons were designed based on fragments of visitor technology. Underground bunkers expanded. Colony ships prepared for emergency evacuation. You know it's hopeless, Sarah told him during one of their meetings. When the Devourers come, maybe, Mitchell admitted. But we have to try. It's who we are. We stand and fight for our homes. Sarah nodded sadly. I understand. We were like you once before we learned the cost of empire. 3 months passed like 3 days. Decision day arrived. Across human space, people made their choice. Transport ships launched from every world, carrying volunteers to the visitors. Others dug in deeper, preparing for war. The numbers surprised everyone. Roughly half chose each path. Humanity split down the middle. The young often chose evolution. The old typically chose to stay. But not always. Families divided, friends separated, lovers parted. Lieutenant Rodriguez stood with his bags at the spaceport. His parents had chosen to stay. His sister was going. The goodbye was harder than any battle he'd faced. "Be safe," his mother whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Remember us," his father added, voice rough with emotion. Across the Empire, similar scenes played out millions of times. The great divergence of humanity had begun. In orbit around Neptune, the visitor's ship transformed again. It grew larger, preparing to accommodate millions of new inhabitants. Transport shuttles flowed between it and human space like a river of metal. Dr. Thompson was among the first volunteers to board. The interior still amazed him. Spaces that folded in on themselves, corridors that existed in multiple dimensions. But now he would learn these secrets. Sarah greeted him personally. "Welcome to tomorrow, Doctor. Your journey of transformation begins now." Back on Earth, Admiral Mitchell watched the exodus on his screens. Half of humanity flowing toward an uncertain future. Half remaining to face an unstoppable threat. "Any regrets, Admiral?" asked General Carter. Mitchell shook his head. "We've given our species 2 chances instead of 1. That's all any leader can do." The great ship began to change one final time. It unfolded into something vast and beautiful. Energy fields sparkled around it like aurora. Space itself seemed to bend in greeting. Sarah's final message echoed across the solar system. "To those who stay, we'll remember you. Your courage, your determination, your love of home. To those who come, prepare for wonders beyond imagination. Today humanity chooses not 1 future, but 2. The ship turned toward deep space. The volunteers, now numbered in millions, began their transformation. Behind them, the Empire prepared for war. As the visitor's ship accelerated away, it seemed to fade rather than shrink, sliding sideways out of normal space, becoming invisible to standard sensors. The last anyone saw was a ripple in starlight, like a door closing on one chapter of human history. On Earth, children looked up at the night sky. Some saw abandonment, others saw hope. All saw change. Admiral Mitchell stood on the observation deck watching the stars. Somewhere out there, half of humanity was becoming something new. Here the other half would make their stand. "The devourers are coming," he said to the empty room. "But humans are stubborn. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars. Maybe we'll survive this too." In the depths of space, 2 humanities began their separate journeys. One to transformation and nomadic life among hidden dimensions. The other to fortification and desperate defense of everything they'd built. Both paths were dangerous. Both required courage. Both were completely human. The unknown vessel was gone, but its legacy remained. Humanity would never be the same. Whether that meant extinction or evolution, only time would tell. The choice was made. The future, split in 2, raced forward into darkness and light.